So for this week's assignment, we're going to create some combat spaces. So the third-person shooter prototype that we're using for the course has some simple AI mechanics, some shooter mechanics, some cover-based shooting, that sort of stuff that should be sufficient for experimenting with cover-based shooter setups. So we'll go ahead and switch over to Unity. So this third-person shooter has these NPCs that can shoot, and there's some NPCs, as you can see. Let's see if I look at the enemy group. Some that are labeled just AI enemy, and those are the guys that actually have rifles. And then they are these enemy pistols that actually have pistols. And so as if I go and play this, so these enemies are just going to start shooting at me. I can move and take cover, and I can shoot back. So the enemy will take cover as well. They can throw grenades, anyway, so it's pretty basic. It's not perfect by any means, but it's definitely usable for this sort of tutorial, this prototype. So let me sort of break down how the scene works so that you can do the assignments yourself. So first things first is essentially the game uses placed cover objects. And so let's see, so I've gone through here and made a bunch of prototypes in here that you can use and gone ahead and set them up with their own cover. So if you look in here, let's see, if I'll grab this one right here. It actually has these covers set up. Hold on a second. So in layers right now, because it's irritating to sort of grab the covers. If you go up to layers, turn on cover, and now when I select this, you'll see that it has the sort of cover objects that are all around it. So I've gone ahead and set up each of these prototype objects in here with the appropriate cover objects. And essentially what it is it's just kind of a invisible sort of plane that tells you, okay, it's facing away from the object. And this is actually what allows the character to walk up to the characters and the enemies to walk up to an object and actually get into cover. So the enemies definitely need this. Of course, you could just play here as if you're using a Doom level and not actually snap the cover if you want, but I definitely recommend it. And so anyway, so what I've done essentially is I've created cover objects for each of the prototypes in here, and so they are actually children of the mesh cover objects, so you can move them around. You can actually, what's probably easiest is to hide the cover objects themselves using layers, because otherwise you might be sort of grabbing that individually. Anyway, so if you create your own mesh using Maya for this assignment, you're going to end up with pieces that don't necessarily have their own covers. So what you want to do is probably grab one of these and get it out of the hierarchy of this. So now you have your own cover object, and you can go and sort of place it wherever you want. There we go. And just kind of scale it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but so let's see. So now I'll go ahead and try to run it. And now I can run up to this wall and he takes cover on it, as opposed to this side, which does not have a cover position, and he cannot take cover on it. So that's basically it. Like I said, each one of the cover objects that are in the prototype scene actually has all the covers set up for each one of them, which includes these walls over here. and these short walls and stuff like that, depending on which level you're looking at. And like I said, it's easiest to sort of hide the layers or hide the covers so you're not looking at it all the time. I do have to warn you though, these cover objects that I put in here, you can't really scale them. So I know it looks like if you grab this and you actually scale it, it actually scales the cover objects that are children for this. And so it looks that way, but when you actually play it in game, it still treats it for the scale that's actually typed in for here. Sorry, that's a little bit confusing. So, I wouldn't go ahead and grab all of these and sort of scale them and stuff like that. So, anyway, so that's mostly exactly how you need to have the cover placed on the stuff. So next thing is NavMesh. So if you go up to Window, Navigation, it should pop up sort of a window here, and essentially what you can do is go into here, Bake, and oops. So you bake the nav mesh and it's actually going to be on here, but as you can see, it's not doing it properly over the ground. So I need to select this object actually, Inspector, and go up here and select Navigation Static. That actually says that the this Maya file is meant to be used as static nav mesh. So now that that's set up, I can go back to Navigation and I can bake, and now it's actually created nav mesh. So this is actually what the AI uses to walk around, and so that's how it sort of avoids obstacles and things like that. So each one of these objects was individually set up by going in here and selecting it, and going into Navigation Object and selecting Navigation Static. That basically said that it needs to be used for navigation. So like I said, most of that setup work is already done. What you just mainly need to do is once you get all of your pieces where you want them, just basically go to Navigation, Clear, and Bake. So that should be mostly it. Let's see. One thing that the enemies actually do support is patrolling. So you can go in here and select one, and then drop down here. Let's see. And actually add a waypoint. As you can see, it's kind of a cool little interface. So once you, oops, and it's really easy to do this accidentally. Okay. So now that I run the game, I can see that guy. Oops. The guy back there is actually running the patrol. So let's see. I think that they started walking because they had patrol points that were already set up. Okay. There we go. So now it's just that one guy that's like walking back and forth back there. So that's how you sort of set up patrols. One thing that's really helpful for placing a lot of these objects, let's see. Okay, so here it's showing the cover, so I'm going to go up here to layers and hide the cover. That way I'm not selecting it. So yeah, so one thing that's really helpful for when you're moving stuff around is that you can hold down the V button, the V key, and it sort of snaps your sort of cursor to vertices. And so you can grab this and then drag and actually snap it to vertices. Unity doesn't really have a great grid snapping sort of tools. This is kind of the best way to sort of snap walls and things like that. So I think that is mainly it. What I've done is created 3 separate rooms like this, or setups like this. Let's see. So there is assignment A. Assignment A, I want to be no larger than 30 by 30, and to basically be a single space that without any subdivided space within it. So what can you do with creating a single battlefield space with 4 enemies? Let's see. B, I'd like to have basically essentially 2 spaces that have some porousness between them. So you have basically combat will flow between 2 different spaces. And then for assignment C, this is allowed to be a little bit bigger, so 40 by 40 meters. And you can pretty much do whatever you want to, but you've got a lot of enemies to be able to have to deal with. So as far as the assignment goes, things that I'm going to be looking at are, as a player, how well can I strategize through the space? Is the difficulty appropriate? Are you able to sort of make the environment sort of work for the cover mechanics? What is the strategic contrast? Or how well are you using strategic contrast? And how well are you using items like, basically how are you using cover connections, and backboards and screens, that sort of stuff. So anyway, good luck, and I am really looking forward to playing your setups.